Welcome back, listeners, to Sandman Stories Presents, a folklore podcast where I read you to sleep or until the next story. I'm your host, Dustin. Today we are back in Georgia with the stories written down by Marjory Wardrop. In this story, a peasant wants to get his son educated, and he gets an offer from the devil. After the son comes back, they have a wizard battle, and he has to beat the devil, or he will die. Okay, let's begin. Master and Pupil, or The Devil Outwitted. Once upon a time there was a poor peasant who had one son, and it came to pass that his wife said to him, "He should learn some trade, for when he is separated from you, what will he do if he is left ignorant like you?" The wife importuned him, and she gave him no rest. So the peasant took his child and went to seek a master for him. On the way they were thirsty. He saw a rivulet, drank eagerly till his thirst was quenched, and when he lifted up his head he cried out, "Ah, how good you are!" On saying this, there came forth from the water a devil in the form of a man, and said to the peasant, "What do you want, O man? I am Rachael. What troubles thee?" The peasant told him his story. The devil, when he learned this, said, "Give me this son of yours. I will teach him for 1 year, and then come here. If you know him, it is well, he will go with you. If not, he is mine and mine alone. He shall be lost to you." Now the devil had other children to bring up on the same conditions, and since in a year children change so much that their parents may no longer know them, the devil always had the best of it. The peasant knew nothing about this. He agreed to the proposal and went home. A year passed by, and the father of the child came to the devil, but he did not find the devil at home. He saw in the courtyard a multitude of boys, and looked again and again, but could not recognize his boy. He was sad. However, his own son came up and knew him. Then the boy said, "Presently my instructor will come. He will turn us all into doves, and we shall fly away. In the flight I shall fly before all, and in the return I shall be behind all. When my master asks you which is your son, you will point to me." The peasant rejoiced and awaited the master with a hopeful heart. In a little while the master appeared. He called his pupils, turned them into doves, and ordered them to fly away. The peasant's son flew before all, and when they returned, remained behind. The master inquired, "Now, do you know which one is your son?" The peasant pointed him out. The devil was enraged when he perceived the trick his pupil had played on him. But what did it matter? The boy left him. The father went and took his son with him. They came to a place where the nobles were hunting. Some greyhounds were pursuing a hare, but they could not catch it. The boy said to his father, "Go into the wood and raise a hare. I will turn into a hound and will seize it before the eyes of these nobles. The nobles will follow you and will be anxious to buy me. Ask a high price and sell me to them. Then I shall seize the first opportunity to escape and overtake you on the road." The father went into the wood and started a hare. His son turned into a hound and pursued the hare, and just before the eyes of the nobles, he pounced on it. They crowded around the peasant and insisted upon buying the dog. The peasant asked a high price, which they paid in exchange for the hound. The nobles attached a cord to the dog and went away. When they had traveled a little way along the road, a hare started from the thicket. They let the hound loose and sent him after it. When he had chased the hare a long way and had lost sight of the nobles, he changed again into a boy and followed his father. The father and son went on their way. The money seemed inadequate. "I must get some more," said the son. They looked around. Another party of nobles were pursuing a pheasant, and the falcons flew after it. But for some reason they could not catch it. The boy changed himself into a falcon and sported with the pheasant in the air, just before the nobles' eyes. He brought it down, and they were frantic with pleasure, and they said to the peasant, "You must sell this falcon to us." The peasant again fixed a high price, to which the nobles agreed, and this they paid him in exchange for the falcon. The peasant went on his way. The nobles, after traveling some distance, sent the falcon in pursuit of another pheasant. The falcon flew after the bird, and when he was out of the noble's sight, changed into a boy and joined his father. The father and son went on with their money, but the son was not content with it. He said to his father, "Come, I will change into a splendid horse, mount me and go into town and sell me. But remember, do not sell me to a man with multicolored eyes. If you do not give him the bridle, for then, I will not be able to free myself from his hands." On saying this, the boy changed into a splendid spirited horse. The father mounted it and rode into town. Here he saw many who wanted to buy it, but more eager than any was a man with gray and orange eyes. Whenever anyone added a menenthi to the price, he added 10 times that, called a thuman. Love of money conquered the peasant, and he sold the horse to the man with the colorful eyes. He bought the bridle with it, mounted the horse, and spurred it on. He went, disappeared, and could no longer contain his joy that he had his pupil once more in his power. He reached home, shut the horse in a dark room, and locked the door. His pupil lay down and was sad. He thought and grieved, but there seemed to be no help for him. Time passed, and he could think of no means of escape. One day, he noticed that a sunbeam entered the stable through a hole, and he changed himself into a mouse and ran out. His master saw him, however, and pursued him as a cat. The mouse ran, the cat followed. Just when the cat was about to seize him in his mouth, the mouse turned into a fish swimming in a stream. The master turned into a net and followed him, but the fish swam away. But the net kept coming for him. Just when the net was going to cover him, the fish changed into a pheasant and flew away. The master pursued him as a falcon. The pheasant flew on, but the falcon followed. When the falcon was about to put his claws into him, he turned into a red apple and rolled in the king's lap. The falcon changed into a knife in the king's hand. Just when the king was about to cut the apple, it changed into a kodi of millet, about 80 pounds, and spread on a cloth. The devil changed himself into a brood hen and began to eat it. When it had almost eaten all, and only 1 grain left, this grain turned into a needle and rolled in front of the hen, which changed into a thread in the eye of the needle. As it was about to hold back the needle ran into the fire and burned the thread. The boy thus escaped from the devil and went home to his father and lived happily ever afterwards. The end. Wow, what a fun story. Again, this one has themes that you see in episode 136, The Master of Magic from the Azores, and also in the as of yet unreleased episode, Oh, the Tsar of the Forest, where wizards have a battle, constantly changing themselves into this and that, and finally one outwits the other. As these stories are a fairly common form of entertainment, it is no wonder that there are common motifs from Portugal all the way to Georgia. I love a good wizard battle like that in Disney's The Sword and the Stone, and I look forward to more stories from Georgia. Thank you again for introducing this book to me, Roberto, and that's Roberto of the History of Georgia podcast. The podcast shoutout this time is to the Crime Diner, formerly Wine, Dine, and Storytime. Dana, Cindy, and Nydia whip up a feast, hang out, and tell stories like the best friends that they are, and then they get into the tales of true crime from the past. Come for the crime, stay for dessert. And all of their meals are top-notch gourmet meals, so you might want to stick around just for the recipes alone. And if you like them as much as I do, go and listen, rate, and review them. And the listener shout-out is to Attica, Greece, where 75% of my listeners from Greece reside. Attica is home to Athens, the capital of Greece, named from a pre-Indo-European language, which gave its name to the goddess. So to my listeners in the capital, Evkaristo kai kalinikta. Thank you, and good night.